All right, so this video, we're going to be discussing variables. I'm not going to open BlueJ while I'm doing this. I'm not going to talk about the actual programs. I'm going to try and do that in class or in a separate video for the completely virtual people because videos are just too long. Okay, so variables are what we're going to be discussing, and specifically primitive types, naming them. We're going to have a whole reference section after this. So there's two different kinds of variables we discuss. So what is a variable? A variable is a storage location for a specific type of value. Okay, so a storage location for a specific type of value. So what we're talking about here is why Java is strongly typed. I believe those are the words that they use. Strongly typed. What that means is some programming language do not require you to use the word int or tell you that whatever the person's going to be typing in or any variable that you're going to be using, what kind of value is going to be. So you could just create a variable called a plus and put pig in it. Okay, it doesn't have to have a number. But in Java, it does. So in Java, we have two different kinds of variables. So we have a variable that's a primitive type that is just a container for the value. So what I mean is like a plus is the name of the container and 254 is stored in it. Okay, it's actually just a container to hold the value. The other kind is a reference. You can tell the difference between primitive types and references. Primitive types start with lowercase letters and references start with uppercase letters. So string comsci pig is a reference to pig. That means pig is in a box, but it might be in a box in somewhere else on the computer. Comsci is basically pointing at the address where it's located. So comsci keeps track of where the storage spot is, but it doesn't actually hold on to it. It's a weird concept that hopefully as we go on you'll understand better. So this type of value, so for example, the ones we're focusing on now are these primitive types. We'll discuss references in the next video. I guess that's what I should say. Okay, so a plus is holding 254. So a plus holds an integer. Integers, as you all know, are positive and negative whole numbers. So if I try to put 4.38 in there, it's not going to allow it. It doesn't. It says bad. It will not allow a plus to equal 254. But if I try to put something like 73 in there, I'll put 73 in, and 254 is completely forgotten. Okay, so 254 never happened. So it can only hold one value at a time. Oh, sorry. It can only hold one value at a time. I'm writing this down. Hold or store. Ooh, I'm getting used to this thing. Sorry. Wow, how did that happen? I'm getting better though, as you can tell. Okay, and it's always the last one. So if I put 73 in here, the 73 is the last one, and 254 is completely forgotten. So we have to discuss how to name these variables. There's two things. There's syntax and there's style. Syntax is what the computer needs. Okay? In order for the program to run, you have to do it this way. Okay? And then we have style. And I'm going to hold true to these styles. Okay, because it's really important you get in the habit of writing it a specific way. It makes it easier for me to edit and debug or help you debug your programs. So style is generally agreed upon rules. Okay, and we'll discuss those generally agreed upon rules as we go. Okay, so syntax, I'll try to point out the difference. Okay, but you should hold true to both of those regardless. The only difference is if your style is off, the program will still run. Okay, it'll just be more difficult for you to change your ways in the future. Okay, what is an identifier? So an identifier is used to identify something. If that wasn't super clear, I don't know what else is. So it's basically the name you give to a class, variable, method, or object. Okay. Whoa. Okay, so sorry, I keep hitting the button on the stylus. So, or object, that should say object there. Okay, I'll get better as we go. So the name here, this guy is called A+. This is a class. Classes start with uppercase letters. Okay, so you know it's a class if it starts with an uppercase letter. And that's the only thing that starts with an uppercase letter. That's a style. Okay. Width is a name of a variable. So identifiers, when I say your identifier is wrong or your identifier is spelled incorrectly or whatever, if I say that, I'm literally talking about the name. Okay, so an identifier is just a name. We give something. But there are rules to the identifiers. The first rule is they must always start with letters. So you have to start with a letter. I guess you could start with an underscore, but starting with letters is the best thing, okay? And always... Oh, you know what? We'll talk about style next, okay? So must always start with a letter. And cannot use... My record button is just in the way here. Only letters, numbers, and underscore are allowed. Underscore. Remember that thing that's like, it's shift minus sign, are allowed. There are a couple other symbols allowed, but don't get used to using them. Okay, there's just a couple other symbols used, but not a lot of programming languages allow you to do that. So which one of these identifiers would be illegal? This one would not. The exclamation point is not allowed, so this one is bad. This one has a space. Spaces are bad. So none of these would work, and this is what we're talking about. This is syntax. Syntactically, these are bad. These would not, the program would not run. So this 2 here, it starts with a 2, so must start with a letter. So this one is bad. So bad. These 2 are okay. Okay, those 2 are good. There's no spaces. They start with a letter. But because of these uppercase letters at the beginning, we would assume these are a class. Okay, this is the part of the style that I'm talking about. So only classes only start with uppercase. Start with an uppercase. Okay, there's one other thing that uses other uppercase letters in the beginning. And we'll discuss that at the end here, but as a general rule, only classes start with an uppercase letter. All other variables, methods, and objects start with lowercase letter. Okay, so just be aware of that. I will hold you to that in your programs. What is an identifier? Okay, so always use names that mean something. So it's important that you don't name something just like A or B, unless your A is like, you know, in the quadratic formula, ax squared plus bx plus c, then that's a different story. But pick things that mean something, okay? It's a little bit more to type, it's a little bit more to type, but it's a better process. Always pick something that means something. Okay. It's important to know this. It is Java because this is another strongly typed language. Case is important. So these, all uppercase Sam does not equal all lowercase Sam. They have to be exactly the same. Sam and Sam are the same. All of the cases have to be the same. Okay? None of these are equal to each other. These two are the same. That's the only two. Okay? Oh, these three. Okay? So just be careful. It's called a case-sensitive language. Case-sensitive. And that's going to be one of the first issues that we have when we're running programs and stuff. So you got to be careful of your case. Then we have keywords. So keywords, if we've programmed already, if you've seen them program, you know that certain words change color. And these are called reserved words. And you cannot use them as identifiers. So that's the final thing. These are nice 8 to start with, and more will come along as we go. But right now, if it changes color as you type it, don't use it. Another one that you're never going to want to use as a name is the word new. That's a bad word to use also. Okay? You know what? I'm going to stop it here, and then we'll get into types of variables in the next video.